step it off the table now. You're right on the edge.
Hey everyone, welcome to Hope for Survival YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the new subscribers, and I hope you're healthy and blessed on this Sunday. I had the opportunity to lasso Brother Otis. Had to pay him a healthy fee to come back.
And he fed me pizza today.
Come back on the YouTube channel again, but it's always a blessing to get to spend time with Brother Otis and Mrs. Otis. This time up here in our neck of the woods, and so I figured, what the heck? I'll feed him pizza and get him all sleepy, and then I'll get out the cameras and say, "Hey, guess what? We're going to talk to that.
Let's do an interview. You know.
Let's talk to YouTube." So I always look forward to hearing his insight and wisdom. The most important, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Been real busy.
Yeah.
Trying to get preparations ready for this spring and everything, and been staying pretty busy.
How are things down south? You had to shovel some snow the other day.
Yeah, we've had 2 snowstorms. The first one we got 3 inches of snow and 1 inch of ice. And then the second one, we got 1 inch of snow, but the roads were worse because it was predicted to only be south of our area, and we still got some too, and they really didn't treat that good. It took me 1 hour and 15 minutes to go 10 miles. All the 18-wheelers were getting stuck on the road and backing up traffic. It was crazy.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that you have everything you need already in your vehicle to throw up a tent and have a hot meal. And
I was probably pretty good.
Yeah. There's no doubt at all in my mind.
Yeah, I was probably pretty good, but I didn't really want to do it, only being 10 miles from the house.
Yeah, it's like, what do I do? Do I get out my goodie bag here, or do I grab my bag and hoof it home?
Yeah.
But, well, I'm glad that you all are up here in the area, because all of our snow just melted right before you got here. So, well, thanks for sharing some time with me. Several of the folks out there, after we recorded the last video down at Lake Lore, just weeks before the disaster hit, it was hotter than blue blazes, if you remember that day. It was brutal.
Yeah, it was.
Reached out and said, "You need to get together with Otis more often." It's like, yeah, I agree. We weren't 4 hours apart.
Well, I'd love to be neighbors.
Yeah.
That's not in the plans at the moment.
Amen to
We'll
that. Yeah. And you've already met a lot of our neighbors here, and
I have. Got some pretty good ones.
Our little neighborhood team, and some from our community as well. You went out and purchased some additional Oupes when I did recently.
They had a real good special on some of their batteries, and so I got some more of the B2s to beef up what we had. And then with everything that went on with the hurricanes, and then everything that's went on with the snowstorms that we've had, even though we only lost power for a minimal amount of time, I still wanted to test everything. Because you now, while you have a chance to fix things or to upgrade things, you have to test. You have to find out what your equipment will do. And I've got stuff all in the living room, stuff downstairs, and the wife's all over me, but we've been doing all kinds of testing to see what our equipment will and won't do. And plus, and we went over this previously up at Lake Lure, you have to cycle your equipment every quarter. Yeah. It just extends your battery life so much. And although it isn't stupid, expensive stuff, it ain't cheap either, so you want to take care of it. Yeah. So when we were we were in Hendersonville when the hurricane hit.
Yep, had dinner.
Yeah, and y'all left the night it hit and just made it past I-40 before it washed out not too long that night.
Yep.
So we were stranded there. And this was on a Friday morning, I guess, when the hurricane actually hit. And we were in the hotel lobby, and we were going to go to prepper camp. And we lost power at 8 o'clock that morning in the middle of the hurricane. It did not come on till later the next week. But we were stranded there. Our parking lot was flooded. Luckily, and I normally would have planned our hotel in relationship to the geographical area. I didn't that time, but the good Lord was looking after us, and we got lucky that we were up on the elevated area. The downtown district had 13 feet of water. It was touching all the traffic lights. They closed down all the roads. They enacted a curfew. I mean, you couldn't go nowhere even if you wanted to, because of all the roads were just blocked with traffic. People running out of gas in the road, in the gas stations. One of the things that we always practice is whenever we get where we're going, we fill up. Mm-hmm. So I had my truck full, which gave me about a 550-mile range. I did not advertise it. We had been on a camping trip, and we had plenty of supplies. I did not advertise it. That Thursday before it hit, we went down to the Walmart and bought some more supplies and iced up all our coolers. Still didn't advertise it. So we were stuck in there. Y'all left that Thursday night. Friday it hit. People were panicking. They didn't know what to do. So the wife and I took everything that we had learned and all the classes that we have been in, and we were trying to go ahead and prepare people, because basically we were refugees.
Yeah.
We were stuck.
No one was coming.
No, nobody was coming. Whether they wanted to or not, they couldn't get there if they tried. So first thing we did was we went to the hotel management and we said, look, you're going to run out of water soon. And then it's going to become a septic issue, a sanitation issue in this building. We need to let people know that they need to fill up some tubs, they need to fill up some garbage cans, we need some water for flushing, and do that as minimally as possible. And it was just some young girls working the place. And so they went around to people, and luckily that started helping. And then there were 2 gas stations down the road that would take cash only. So in small groups with some forms of security, we'll put it that way, we went down there and made cash purchases of high protein, high carbohydrate food that would not spoil. I had to have a little class on that, trail mix, jerky, and then we got waters and stuff too. And we carried back some ice because, we did have some coolers in the facility. And people, they really listened. It surprised me. And we were able to put a sense of calm over the whole facility.
Someone's in charge.
Yeah, and it really was a blessing. We never did get to make it to prepper camp, because that day the roads were just closed. That Saturday we got up early and tried 4 different routes. Still couldn't make it because of all the down trees, down power lines, mudslides in North Carolina, South Carolina. The closest we ever got was 11 miles, and it was nothing but a solid little mudslide down the whole road. So we chalked it up, went back to the hotel. There was 2 local steakhouses. So here's my gig for Longhorns in Hendersonville. If you're ever there, awesome place. They had steaks that were going to ruin in the coolers. So because they still had natural gas, they cooked them, and they were going around to the hotels giving them out free.
It's awesome.
And you'd be surprised what morale boost that was for
Great
people.
Community outreach.
So we took it and we cut it up in pieces and we distributed it out evenly to everybody there. And it was just such a morale boost. Well, there were some people there that had been through surgery and they needed that protein so that they could, keep recovering. There were people there that had lost their houses just streets down, having to come there to live.
Yeah.
So that was a big lesson on preparedness from a refugee point and loss of power. So when we got home, we started testing more of our equipment on just what it would do in the house in case, we were to lose power. We didn't. We were fine where we were at from the hurricane. But then the next snowstorm came. So we got 3 inches of snow and then 1 inch ice. We never lost power on that one. Believe it or not, we lost it on the second one where we only got 1 inch of snow. But so we were testing, okay, it's cold outside. We were, this past week, below 32 degrees for 5 days. Now, I'm on a basement, so I wasn't that worried about my pipes freezing, but good time to practice.
Yeah.
So I had the walls, the exterior walls that I knew pipes went through, dripping on the hot side. No cold. So I had the cold water dripping because that's where it came from in those walls. I went to the very farthest faucet from the hot water heater and had it just barely dripping. And then we tested our Oupes equipment. In the basement, I have gas logs. So I took a oscillating high-speed fan and I used it, and I even positioned certain doors to make a funnel for the air. And then I positioned the fan and I used the Oupes system to power it. I only used the solar generator. I didn't plug in the battery because I wanted to see what it would do. And when I first plugged it in, it was pulling like 47 watts on surge. Then it would drop down to like 45 continuous, which is not that much. And it said it would run like 62 hours or something just on the charge of the generator itself. And so I ran it a minimum 4 hours a day for 5 days. And then upstairs, we were doing some tests with your oil radiator type heaters.
Mm-hmm. Got 2 of them.
My wife would tell you, we haven't turned the central heat on in the house in 7 years. And part of it is because I'm cheap. The other part is because we're doing experiments to see what we can take and what we can't take.
It's a long experiment, brother.
It is. And as long as it stays above 55 in the house, we're good. We do have gas logs, and we'll turn them on a little bit every now and then, bump chill off. But as long as it'll stay above 55, she and I are comfortable. We're both very hot-natured people. But
there went half of your fan base right there.
Yeah, see y'all. Bye. Now, but because I wanted to test the equipment, so we're testing the oil heaters, and when you put them on high and turn the thermostat all the way up, it was pulling like 1,800 watts. On a full charge on the unit and one battery, it said it would run it for 8 hours continuous, which I thought was pretty good at 1,800 watts. That's a pretty big draw. So I would do experiments. I would change it to low. Then I would change it to high. Then I would change it to medium. Then I would vary the temperature on the thermostat. It had just a regular dial thermostat, 1 through 6. Then I put it on high, put it on 6, got the oil really hot. Then I backed the thermostat down so it would only cycle. And it lasted a lot longer. A full charge battery and the unit, it said it would run it for 18 hours. With it on high, but with the thermostat down to 4 with hot oil. Not with cold oil, with hot oil already. We even did a little bit of experimenting with the solar panels that come with the unit. Of course, I had to buy those separately, but we put them in our sunroom and ran a short cable over to them, and we were charging them through the glass. They would probably done better if I had them outside.
Yeah.
But I was getting some.
But it worked.
It did. It worked some. And it also hid my signature of having panels. Even though they would have been in the backyard or whatever, but I was still practicing some type of OPSEC, not advertising to everybody that I had solar panels. And then we did make coffee with it once. Coffee makers pull a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They pull a lot.
Yeah. I've used, not the Oupes, but I've used just running a car battery with the inverter. Mm-hmm. And basically, 1 pot of coffee will pretty much drain a whole battery.
Yeah, it pulls like 1,500 watts.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a strong pull.
By the time your dinger goes off telling you your coffee's done, your battery's done too.
On the second storm, which was this past weekend, we lost power for 6 hours. Now it went off in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. We got up about 8 o'clock, whatever. Noticed we had power off, no big deal. In all of my freezers, I have a row of frozen water bottles to help for extra coolant. Yeah. Plus, it's water. It's drinkable water. But that also, you don't open your freezers. It buys you a lot of time. Yeah. It buys a lot of time. And so the wife and I have been feeding the birds and the squirrels and any kind of critter in the yard that'll eat bird seed, sunflower seed, or fruit that was about to go bad that we would just cut up and throw out there, apples, oranges, bananas, whatever. And so we're sitting there just watching, and we're like, okay, I guess it's time to power up something so we can make coffee. So we used the Oupes, we got coffee, and I was about to go get some of the camping equipment out to make, some food when the power came back on. So I didn't get to test that, but
something that I have not tested with that, and I'll be really, really curious if there's any difference at all, is running the Oupes inside and then taking it out in below 32 degrees temperature, and see, because I think the documentation says it's got to be a lot colder than that to have.
It does. It has a rating.
Isn't it below zero?
Yeah.
I just know a lot of podcasts that I watch up in the Canadian forest and over in the Siberia places where they're running these same.
Their solar generators outside.
Yeah, and it
really zaps them when it's
yes.
cold.
Yep.
And I can't remember what the rating is on the Oupes. It's
I'll
in the
look it up.
manual.
I'll look it up, but I'd be curious to know how much.
Because it has a bottom, it has a cold end and a hot end.
Yeah.
And I don't remember off the top of my head. I have read it when I was going through all that, doing my initial setups and tests, but I don't remember what it was.
I was watching a podcast the other day, and I don't know what brand it was because the guy doesn't speak English, and you couldn't see it in how it was lit. But it was inside the cabin. Before a fire was started, it was 22 below zero.
Chilly.
And he had one there that he was trying to get a light on so he could see it start a fire because the batteries in his flashlight also went dead.
Yeah.
From the cold. So
it'll do it.
That was definitely one is none, two is one, and ding, 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 three is better.
3 is a lot better.
Because he was having major malfunctions.
Speaking of that, that's one of the things that we did when we were in Hendersonville. The wife and I had made preparations to go to prepper camp, and so we wanted to be able to charge all our devices while we were out there. So we had brought the external battery packs that have the little cords on there built in to do your phone, your GPS, whatever. I use an old iPhone a lot just for the camera, and she has one too, and we use it in all of the classes that we take just to take pictures of the notes. But then you got to charge stuff, and so we were helping people charge their equipment at the facility so that they could make a phone call, that they could do. And they were wanting to know how we could do that, We're just using our truck, because you have to be real careful with what information you give out.
Yeah.
Because it would not have taken a lot that could have turned into a bad thing. And there was hope that things would get better.
Yeah.
We were there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Sunday night, you could see the bad element starting to come out. Yeah. It took 3 days of them being cooped up, and you could see the bad element coming out and roaming around.
No one's coming to help yet.
Yeah. And
what are we
so
going to do?
That Monday, we booked it and came home, and we had to drive 2 hours before we saw any fuel. And that was at intersections where there was gas stations on all 4 corners. They had brought the power back up there first, and the cars were lined up for miles. My wife took a little video of it. I mean, just miles of these people trying to get fuel. And then we drove all the way through North Carolina, South Carolina. We were down into the bottom of South Carolina, right before Georgia, before we saw a normalcy. And we went all the way into Georgia before we saw anything normal, but still extra crowds. So we stopped to get our first warm coffee since we had left on that trip. So it got real interesting real quick.
Being self-reliant, the more you experienced these type of situations, and considering where you live at, and just recently Hurricane Helene, the more being self-reliant and prepared is you just shake your head as to this is the only way to be.
With what we had with us, we could have made it for 10 days easily. And so we weren't uneasy at any time for ourselves. Of course, situations could have got real bad, but we had means with us if need be to take care of that too, to a certain level. But when we got ready to leave, the things that we had extra of, we donated to the hotel just to try and help those people out. They were surprised that we had all that stuff because we kept our mouth shut while we didn't know when we would get to leave.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
you don't volunteer to show how a noose works.
No, we tried to be just as bad off as they were.
Correct. You're one of them.
And had to. But when we got ready to leave, we went to the people that we thought needed the extra supplies the most. And we emptied our coolers, tried to help them out. Because we knew in 3 to 4 hours we would be where we were pretty good off.
Yeah.
So.
Which, when you're talking about blending in and you're one of them, this goes to so many different areas of preparedness.
Oh, yeah.
Of trying to blend into communities that you're one of them. Even if that means you're eating and they're not, you want to wear baggy clothes.
Yeah.
Because you've lost
weight.
And be dirty. Yeah.
And your yard needs to be dirty. Your house needs to be, everything needs to appear to be just as bad off as everybody else.
Yeah. It's, now, the other side of that, the following weekend, from Hendersonville, the following weekend, I was in Irwin, Tennessee, which got hammered from the disaster. Thursday, unloading the food truck, and then I was back over there on Friday with another food truck, and we were staying there Friday night because we were teaching a class in Hampton for Dr. Amanda for her fundraiser to buy repeaters. I won't say what I won't say what town or city we were staying in, but that Friday night we checked in. We went and got dinner and checked in, and we were about 30 to 45 minutes outside of the disaster zone. And by this time, they were moving so many disaster victims into any and every room they could get, right? And there were a lot of out-of-towners, volunteers who were staying in these places and then going into the disaster zone to volunteer. The one that we stayed at, and this would be 1 week after it hit. Of course, we had slingshots and rubber bands with us. But there were people in the hallways leaning against the walls that were stoned out of their mind.
That's what we started seeing that Sunday night.
Yeah, and it was...
Well, they couldn't get their stuff is what it was. They were trying to score stuff.
Yeah.
And they get desperate then, boy. You could tell they were freaking.
Yeah, and that became a little worrisome.
Security issue right there.
Yeah. And, just the individuals or setting their room on fire. Them going door to door, and so we were okay, but the overall picture changed in a week's time. To it was approaching desperation as people were learning that they had just simply lost everything. Many of them probably did not have a whole lot.
There were quite a few people there that were locals and they just had to go to higher ground and stay in that hotel where we were at, and they had lost everything. Their family members had lost everything, and there was this one lady. She had lost everything and couldn't get in touch with her children. Finally did, and they had lost everything, and she still was able to go to her job, buy food, and brought it back to the hotel and donate it when she had lost everything. I mean, it really brings out the good in people.
Yeah, it does. And the number of people that, when I was working in Elk Mills Poga, the number of people who came out to volunteer who had lost everything. They were there to help and serve other people.
When they themselves didn't have nothing.
When they, yeah. And they said a lot of the helping the others was a coping mechanism.
Of how they were, handling their loss,
Yeah. You know what? I didn't even start a clock, so I don't even know how long we've been doing this. But I wanted to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
I wanted to get your thoughts on. It was a great joy this morning that Brother Otis and Mrs. Otis hooked up with me, and we went to Sunday morning church this morning.
Very good service.
It was a very good service, and it's a topic that often a lot of pastors and preachers avoid speaking about, and that's the book of Revelations. But our pastor, he's been going after it. And this morning...
He let it roll today, boy.
He was in chapter 2, somewhere around verse 14 to 16, somewhere around there.
I think it was 14 through 17. He bounced
back early.
Yeah, and he jumped back to 12 and 13 a little bit.
Yeah. I know in sidebars over the years, you and I have had discussions in this area that he covered, and Festus and I have spent lots of hours. We've talked about it on HFS Signal. Sometimes folks get their feathers a little ruffled, but everyone has differences of opinions and so on, and that you got to respect that. But what's your thoughts on what he hit on this morning?
He was talking about the letters to the churches, and in chapter 2, verse 16, the thing that really stood out to me the most was how it talked in the Bible, thousands of years ago, how it talked about how the church would be infiltrated itself with evil. And even in our leadership inside, there would be evil. And it would be leading people astray. And that was one of the things that he hated, Christ, God hated the most. How should I phrase it? The political correctness and wokeism that has infiltrated into many churches. And how it's biblically wrong. Same-sex marriage being okay. So many different things that are now accepted that are biblically wrong. And of course, the Brother Kermit did a much better job than I could ever do. But he let it roll today. He did a very good job on explaining all 5 verses and what they meant.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was real good.
And oftentimes Revelation it's kind of a downer book. It's kind of a book of fear. People avoid reading it because... It's
a very tough book to understand.
And to get your understanding across to other people.
Yeah.
I thought he delivered the message.
I thought he did
from
very well.
his point, great. And with compassion and love.
Oh yeah, he let it roll. And in that compassion and love, he still didn't mind stepping on a few toes. So he let you know real quick what was right and what was wrong by the good book.
I respect and appreciate that in him a great deal.
Yeah. And in these days and times, you had better be paying real attention and getting your heart right with the good Lord.
Yeah, your self-assessment. You know, because as we've talked before, and we were talking at dinner earlier, you and I, Mrs. Otis, on how man in the church has altered the original words in Scripture to favor the message in man versus the original intent of the Lord's words. You know,
I don't know where people vacation at a lot, but we sometimes will go to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee in vacation, and there is a Bible museum there in Pigeon Forge, fairly close to the island. I don't know if anybody, there's the thing called the island, and it's one street behind it off of Teaster Lane. And I'm here to tell you, that is one awesome store. And they have a tour through there with Bibles and all kinds of different books that support the Bible. They even have the scrolls, copies of the scroll. I think they even have some of the original scrolls. And you can take this tour through time of the Bible. And they have one of the original Bibles from like 1500 or something. It is awesome. It is one of the best tours. It is so much money well spent to take that tour. You can learn a lot about how man has taken the Bible in different periods in history and modified it, and how the true meaning of things have changed.
Yeah.
And I haven't made it lately to that store, but I know the owner was having some Bibles reprinted that were from the 1500s before a lot of changes were made. And one of these days when I get back up to Tennessee, I got to go by and check and see if he's gotten that done, because I would love to have one that hasn't been altered. But that's in Pigeon Forge. If anybody ever gets to Tennessee, the Bible Museum, awesome store.
How often do you go to Pigeon Forge?
You know, we try to go up there maybe once every 10 years. Just saying.
Yeah, just saying.
Pretty cool town, so I hear. There's some cool people in Tennessee.
A little expensive, but
yeah, a little pricey. You gotta watch where you stay.
I don't get over there that way too much.
No, we try to get up there about once every 10 years or something.
Too many people for me. All right. Well, there it was. You got to see the man,
the myth,
Brother Otis, the legend, Brother Otis.
Yeah.
Brother, it's always good.
It is always. It is a pleasure.
It's always good.
Yep.
Spend the day sharing,
praising and worshiping the good Lord, and then having our own personal conversations about preparedness and the good Lord. It is always a pleasure. I wish we could do it more often.
Yeah. It's just things that, you know, you probably really don't talk about over the telephone. You know, it's kind of...
Doing things in person sometimes is a little better. I wish we could do it more often. If anybody's got any questions or comments about anything that we said, hit Brother B up in the comments, and we'll try and get together and answer anything, especially if it's anything that I talked about.
Yeah, and tell Brother Otis to be nice to me and quit beating me up over not having a book 3 out yet.
Maybe one of these years he'll get us a book 3 going.
I told him hopefully before I die someday.
Yeah, but good Lord, you're not that old, so it could be a while.
Book 3 out. So, hey, thank you all, and most importantly, as we were talking about earlier, do a self-assessment. And, cross-check your spiritual, your physical, and your psychological well-being, and make sure your life's right. And if you got questions or whatever, find someone to talk to. We have folks here at Hope for Survival that I know would be happy to talk to you and listen to you. And if you got any questions on the video, leave it in the comment section. If you like this video, you can hit like twice. Actually, don't hit it twice because that unlikes it, so hit like. And if you haven't subscribed, it's free. I don't know what you're waiting on, but it would help us a great deal, and we appreciate it. And the most important thing here is to don't forget to remember how blessed you are, and don't forget to give thanks. Bravo Echo out.
Peace.
Peace out. Peace.
Yeah, I think we talked for a little bit.
Did we?
I
forgot to. Well, I usually.
35 minutes.
That's not bad. It'll be about 28 because we talked a little bit before we started.